Right now, on To the Point.
I'm worried if I'm going to be able to pay rent next month.
The growing call from lawmakers and labor leaders to end the government shutdown, now in its third week. A partially collapsed tunnel discovered at a homeless encampment. The search now for possible victims. Library limbo.
Let's try to finish this project and get it to the finish line.
A community library damaged by fire. Now, more than a year later, questions about if and when it will reopen. On the back roads, a sanctuary where healing takes place between women and wolf dogs. Good evening. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us on To the Point. I'm Becca Habiger. Tonight, lawmakers remain at a standstill on how to fund the federal government as the shutdown enters its third week. Democrats are adamantly against reopening the government unless Congress takes up two healthcare-related sticking points. Those are restoring both Republican cuts to Medicaid and restoring the Obamacare subsidies. Republicans continue to insist on passing a basic spending bill and debating the healthcare issues later. Meanwhile, millions of people across the country continue working without a paycheck, and they include TSA workers. Now, a rally happened today at Sacramento International Airport to support those TSA officers working without pay during the ongoing government shutdown. Congressman Ami Bera joined other elected officials and labor leaders to underscore the urgent need for a resolution that ends the shutdown and ensures federal workers receive the pay they've earned.
We're going to work to support the TSA workers and federal workers that are not getting paid. We're talking to food banks and other programs, credit unions, about extending lines of credit. But the best thing we could do is actually let's give them a paycheck. That's what they want.
Workers agree. We talked to one TSA employee who says she's struggling right now, not knowing when she'll get her next paycheck.
I am back at work, doing the work of the TSA, screening passengers and property. Worrying about how I'm going to pay my rent or how I'm going to feed my family, it's distracting, and my job requires me to be completely focused on my work.
Nearly 750,000 federal workers have been furloughed nationwide since the government shutdown began on October 1st. Well, tension tonight in the Democratic Party amid rumors that a prominent San Francisco politician is running for the congressional seat long held by Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. Reporter Monica Madden has a closer look.
A Friday firestorm in the race to potentially replace one of the most powerful women in U.S. history, as State Senator Scott Wiener is reportedly preparing to run against Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
I don't think anybody's really imagined seriously that she was going to lose her seat anytime over the last few decades. But this does seem to be kind of the weakest point of her candidacy. All of the older figures in the Democratic Party or long-serving figures in the Democratic Party are really finding themselves vulnerable across the country.
Back in June, Wiener filed to run for Pelosi's seat in 2028, at the time saying he's been clear about his desire to eventually succeed her. The 85-year-old two-time U.S. House Speaker has not said if she'll seek a 21st term in office next year.
I'm Shoykat Chakrabarti, and I'm running for Congress against Nancy Pelosi.
But already, progressive newcomer Shoykat Chakrabarti is waging a grassroots war, pitching himself as the next generation of Democratic leadership.
So I believe we need a movement of people to go into Congress and take over the Democratic Party and completely change it.
Chakrabarti telling me that he doubts Wiener will snub Pelosi, but adding, quote, regardless, the Democratic Party needs a new kind of leader who is not part of the establishment because the establishment has failed us.
Yeah, I think age is an important factor, but I don't think it's everything. I think folks just want something new and different.
Political analysts say Chakrabarti's campaign might be motivation for Wiener as Pelosi weighs her future.
I imagine a lot of these folks who are jumping these races again, think they're tapping into this national frustration with the Democratic Party. We're seeing a lot of these folks primaried who are establishment figures. So I think there is a hunger for something new and different, if not certainly younger.
A spokesperson for Pelosi tells ABC News she is, quote, fully focused on her mission to win the Yes on 50 special election in California on November 4th. She urges all Californians to join in on that mission to the path on the path to Democrats taking back the House. Now, a spokesperson for Senator Wiener declined to comment, but media outlet SF Standard is reporting that Wiener is expected to launch a campaign for Pelosi's seat as soon as next week. And organizers are planning a second No Kings protest with more than 2,500 marches and rallies set to take place tomorrow. This is a protest against the expansion of power under President Donald Trump, likening him to the British monarchs the founders of America rebelled against here in the United States. And these are scenes from the last No Kings rally in June, which saw thousands of people pack around the state capitol. The nationwide protest is scheduled for tomorrow around 10 a.m., including dozens in our area, with the largest expected to occur just outside the State House. Well, emergency crews are investigating a partially collapsed tunnel at a homeless encampment near Sacramento's downtown rail yards. According to the Sacramento City Fire Department, CHP officers were in the area of I-5 and Richards Boulevard cleaning up the encampment. That's when officers found a tunnel with a few sinkholes in the camp. Officials started searching for a 30-year-old man who has not been seen in days. After a couple of hours, officials started refilling the tunnel after they determined nobody was underneath the ground. Next on To The Point, a busy weekend ahead in the capital city. What you need to know about road closures and detours. And later, a community wants to know when their library will reopen, more than a year after it was damaged by fire.
And no matter what you're doing this weekend or where you're doing it, the weather is going to be absolutely fantastic, perfectly seasonal, including for the Ironman race. I've got a full look at the forecast coming up after the break.
But first, in other headlines tonight, Charles Manson's former girlfriend will remain in prison. Patricia Krenwinkel murdered 7 people and an unborn baby during the Manson family's 2-day murderous rampage. Governor Newsom this week overrode the parole commissioner's May 30th decision to grant parole to the 77-year-old. It's the second time Krenwinkel has been denied release from prison. At least 2 survivors from a U.S. military strike off the coast of Venezuela are in custody. They're being held on a Navy ship after being rescued by helicopter. The survivors were aboard a suspected drug-carrying vessel. It is believed to be at least the 6th strike since August and the first to result in survivors picked up by the U.S. military. Prince Andrew says he's giving up his royal title of Duke of York. This comes after his friendship with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein returned to the headlines. He says the continued accusations about him distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. More road closures to tell you about. Caltrans plans to close 2 major I-80 on-ramps in West Sacramento for repaving work. The 55-hour weekend closure includes the Enterprise Boulevard and West Capitol Avenue slip and loop on-ramps. Both will close at 9 tonight through 4 a.m. Monday. Detours are in place. And Caltrans also plans to close the westbound Business 80 to eastbound Highway 50 connector this weekend. So if you're driving from Cal Expo to eastbound 50, you'll need to take a detour. The closure will be from 8 tonight to 6 p.m. Monday. And ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchef joins us now with a look at the weekend ahead.
Yeah, well, I said before the break that no matter where you're going in Northern California this weekend, the weather's going to be great, but maybe it's best just to stay put this weekend. But nonetheless, very nice weather ahead. Made it to 74 today in Sacramento, 75 in Stockton, 74 Modesto, 71 Jackson, 64 in Truckee, 60 in South Lake Tahoe. Closer to seasonal than where we've been for much of the week, but still running 5 degrees below normal for the time of year. 72 right now in Sacramento, 72 Stockton and Modesto, 66 in Jackson, 50 in Truckee, and 49 in South Lake Tahoe. As we look at downtown Sacramento, 72 degrees. That's 4 degrees warmer than this time yesterday, but it is going to be clear, and with not much wind tonight, we're still going to be able to cool down pretty quickly. So bring a light jacket if you are headed out this evening. We'll be in the low 60s by 9 o'clock, in the 50s by the time we get towards 10 or 11, and we'll drop into those low 50s for Saturday morning. So chilly once again, about 51 Sacramento, 49 in Elk Grove, 50 in Vacaville and Fairfield, 51 Stockton, 52 in Modesto. Isolated fog potential as opposed to that patchy fog potential that we've had the last couple of mornings. Tomorrow afternoon, 77 in Sacramento, 80 in Stockton, 78 Modesto, sunny and seasonal. The average high for the time of year is 78, so we're going to be basically exactly where we should be. For the Ironman on Sunday, it's going to start off in those low 50s, about 53 degrees, but by the afternoon, we're back in the upper 70s, close to 80, so you really could not ask for better weather for the Ironman or whatever you're doing this weekend. Very zonal flow over the next several days as high pressure and low pressure, neither one of them really moves into our weather pattern. Until Wednesday, we'll get a weak little system coming through. That'll send us into those mid-70s, but looking out towards next weekend, we actually could see another round of rain and snow as the system drops into the Pacific Northwest. But this is next weekend, October 25th and 6th, where we've got that potential. So all you got to do right now, don't change any plans, just stay updated on the forecast. Over the next 7 days, temperatures are going to be very consistent, not much difference, right around 77. But by the time we get to next weekend, then things start to look just a little bit different with that possible storm coming in.
All right, thanks, Brendan. And you've got something else for us, too. A series coming up from ABC 10 with the Weather Impact Team, months in the making, right?
Yeah, literally. We've been talking about this since January. So starting next Tuesday, right here on To The Point, the latest project from the weather team, California's Power Struggle. Essentially, it's about how climate change and widespread electrification and the push for clean energy is changing the way that we generate, distribute, and consume power. Take a look.
Demand for electricity in California is growing.
We're going to need all options on the table.
With increased costs,
everything seems to get more and more expensive all the time.
And a changing climate.
It is the country's most aggressive initiative to reach zero carbon.
What's being done to make sure the power stays on?
All of this requires a lot of coordination, a lot of collaboration.
This is California's Power Struggle. Balancing cost, climate, and demand. An ABC 10 Weather Impact Team investigation.
Well, next on To The Point, a community library is still closed after a fire more than a year ago. Neighbors are growing frustrated, wondering when repairs will be finished. And Bartel's Backroads takes us to a sanctuary where healing and comfort is taking place for both humans and rescued wolf dogs. A Sacramento community is disappointed and frustrated after their local library, damaged by fire more than a year ago, still has not reopened. They're now pushing for answers about why it has taken so long and when it will reopen. Outside the Colonial Heights Library, a chain link fence. Inside, empty bookshelves.
Before the fire, we would go pretty much daily or every other day to the library. They would pick out new books and we'd read them at night.
Dana Fleischman and his wife regularly took their 2 young boys the few short blocks to the Colonial Heights Library until a fire in the community room kitchen in late July of 2024 caused damage to the entire building. The library has been closed since then.
We're going on 15 months now. We just kind of feel deprioritized and not heard as a neighborhood, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this way. We have a lot of friends with similar age kids, and they all used to go there too.
We want neighbors to know that we're working aggressively to get this library open.
Sacramento Mayor Pro Tem Eric Guerra represents City Council District 6, which includes this library at Stockton Boulevard and 21st Avenue.
Many neighbors are frustrated, including my 2 kids that are used to biking here on the weekends and enjoying the library. And they're frustrated because they see that nothing is happening. But the reality is that every entity is trying to figure out what's the safe way to operate it. What's the safe way to open up?
He says the city owns the building, but the county-wide Sacramento Public Library Authority manages it. He attributes the delay in part to complicated insurance claims.
We're hoping that we can get this library open, at least partially, so that people can use it as a resource again.
Library Authority leaders say books are scheduled to arrive later this and next month. Staff will return next month to prepare the library, and the library is planning to reopen in early 2026, marking the return of Colonial Heights as a vital hub for resources, programs, and community connection.
Let's try to finish this project and get it to the finish line.
Meanwhile, the City Council is set to vote at Tuesday's meeting authorizing a contract for the restoration of the community room and kitchen. Well, next on the Backroads, meet the rescuers turning trauma into trust and giving wolf dogs a second chance at life. You never know what you'll see on the Backroads. Tonight, John Bartel takes us to El Dorado County to meet a pack of wolf dogs and the women who rescue them.
On the back roads of Pilot Hill, California, overlooking Folsom Lake, there's a sanctuary where healing takes place between women and wolves.
Whether it was PTSD, whether we've had domestic violence, victims, we've had women who've been through, all sorts of different situations that they didn't think they could recover from. And you see their faces light up when they meet these wolf dogs.
In nature, wolves run free, but these are not your typical wolves.
They never really were supposed to exist, in essence, so they have nowhere else to go, right? And when you mix a wild animal with an animal that wants to please humans, you kind of don't know exactly what you're going to get.
Caught somewhere between wild and domesticated, wolf dogs are man-made hybrids that were bred to be unique companions for humans.
They will discover that the greatest secret of survival is friendship.
All he needs is a little bit of kindness.
They were popularized by books and movies like White Fang, but when the wolf dog's wild side becomes too hard to handle, these animals often end up caged or worse.
When you're mixing a wolf gene and a dog gene, there's a lot of kind of identity crises, when it comes to these animals. And so they end up getting surrendered. 90% of them actually get euthanized.
Anjali Ranadive is the founder of Women for Wolves, a rescue she started in 2013.
The bigger picture is really to bridge the gap between people and animals and between women and nature, because it's so natural and it's something that's been lost.
This refuge is as much of a sanctuary for the wolves as it is for the women that take care of them.
So if you're nervous and anxious, they'll be nervous and anxious. So you really have to be able to ground yourself.
Abused, neglected, or starved, these wolf dogs are rescued from all over the United States, and they take time to heal. The term man's best friend doesn't exactly apply here.
They just tend to bond more with women, and I feel like that's also validating for the women that come here to get that special connection.
Women for Wolves is one of the largest wolf dog sanctuaries in Northern California, and they often take on difficult cases.
3 husky mixed dogs on the loose.
Yeah, the dogs have already attacked 2 other animals.
In May of 2025, a pack of wolf dogs got loose from their owners in Natomas and killed or injured neighborhood pets.
They were on the streets for 5 weeks, and then 2 got returned to the guy.
Those wolf dogs were eventually surrendered to Women for Wolves.
When I tell you that they were living in the most filthy squalor I've ever seen in my life.
Anjali says she hopes to use high-profile wolf dog cases like this to introduce legislation that will end the breeding of wolf dogs altogether.
They changed my life and I love them, but the amount of suffering that I've seen, and we get calls or emails every single day, I'm not exaggerating, of animals that are being abandoned.
It's hard to say who is saving who at this sanctuary above Folsom Lake, but regardless if it's the women or the wolves, healing is taking place here.
I feel like I owe them my life. There's been situations where I haven't wanted to continue on, just to be honest. And animals, they bring you back to yourself, but especially these guys, because they've been through so much. So I think you recognize that in each other.
From the Wolf Dog Sanctuary at Women for Wolves, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the Backroads.
Dogs really are such special creatures. Well, hey, you can find more Bartel's Backroads destinations on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. They are all under the Shows tab. Scroll down to Travel, Bartel's Backroads. You can download the free app to your TV. And believe me when I tell you, sometimes when I leave for work, I even turn on Bartel's Backroads for my dogs at home so they can have a little company while I am at work. Well, thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, please reach out to the team. You can email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And of course, To The Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featured on the show, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app to your TV. Give your dog something to watch when you go to work and watch it yourself. Have a great and safe night and weekend. We'll see you back here soon. And you can't. Thanks.